All right, I am back. We'll see if everyone joins in here. So wait for a few minutes here. Looks like it's slowly loading. We got like one person in here so far. We'll wait and for see if some more people will come and join in. I'm not sure what the deal is with the mic there. Just using my iPhone, so there should be no issue. So I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube's side. Fook says we're back much better now. Awesome. And David says it's fixed as well. Okay, thanks guys. I appreciate it. Anyone who had a question or comment that I didn't get to there on the first 7 minutes of the live, definitely go ahead and reinsert it there so that I don't miss any of those. But unfortunately, none of the chat carries over for me. So starting fresh here, but sounds like, yeah, going to be, it's better now. See, David says just going to be polite and suffer through the crackling. Thanks for fixing it. Yeah, I definitely want it to be a good experience for you guys as well. I don't know why YouTube hasn't gotten flawless with the streaming because everything should be good on my end. So I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, hopefully it continues to be good here. So, all right, getting back into the questions here. So the OKS basis says, hey, Matt, not sure if I missed it in the previous streams, but what are your thoughts on the new Chevy Bolt teasers? It seems interesting. I hope that it's better than it's seemed like it was previously. I mean, just the teasers that I've seen so far just look like it's a reskinned version of the old car. And I thought it was going to be an all new generation, like actually new, like new sheet metal, across the board. Maybe it is. It just looks like it's very similar in shape and style to the last one. So I think that if it's just a warmed over version of the old car, if it's super cheap, okay. But if it's not, I mean, even if it's 30 grand, then I'm like, I don't know. I think they needed to up the game a little more. Maybe they have. I don't know yet. It's hard to judge from the teasers, but so far it looks too much like the old one, in my opinion, and that could be a problem. We'll see. I'm curious what you guys think if you've seen that as well. And I see everyone else saying audio is good now. So thank you so much, everyone, for the feedback and for letting me know so that it's a good stream for everyone here. So, Danny says, no info on the car yet. I start school September 3rd and graduate June 17th of next year. Awesome. So then you got another month or so here of summer to enjoy. So hope you can enjoy it with lots of more drives and I guess, yeah, you'll might have to wait a while depending on when they decide to give you that graduation present. But that's very cool though. And Luke says, I wouldn't be able to control myself if I had your job. I already want like 3 new cars per year. Yeah, it's tough to have some of these cars where you really don't want to give them back and wishing you could keep a lot of them. Vishal says, did you see that Genesis killed the electric G80? We're losing sedans left and right lately. Yeah, that one's kind of a strange one. I actually noticed that, not that they had been officially killed, but just that they didn't seem like they were interested in shipping inventory. Because if you look on Auto Trader, there are exactly 0 electrified G80s. And I've seen this for the past couple of months. So they've been gone. I don't know. I guess they finally just made it official, but I think clearly they cut off the tap of electric G80s to the States here for several months now, at least. And it's a shame because there was actually some really good lease deals on them right there. Towards the end, I saw some people getting, $300 or $400 leases, which is very nice for an $80,000+ car. So yeah, it's a shame. At least we have the regular G80 still, but especially some of these low volume electric things, I guess some of the more expensive ones, maybe they'll still stick around because they don't care that much about the tax credit and stuff. But, we may see a few EVs drop out as a result of the different, legislation as well here. And Jordan, thanks so much for being a member for 22 months now. He says, hey, Matt, watched your review of the 2019 Buick Regal GS after having our Fusion for a while. I really like the GS. The GS is great. I think it's really underappreciated, and maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but it's really good. It has a torque vectoring rear diff. It has a great V6. It's built in Germany, which, it's more German than half of the German cars out there these days as far as where they're actually built. It's a really nice car, and my father-in-law actually has the Tourex version of the Regal, same generation and all that, and he loves it. It's been great. He's over 60,000 miles. He had a little sunroof leak that the dealer fixed under warranty, and that's that's been the only issue he's had with it. It's been really good for him. So I like the Regals, and they're pretty cheap too. So I mean, I'd say it's a really good value. They also beat a lot of other companies to the punch with the liftback thing. Obviously, they're not the only ones. Audi has it and has had it for a while as well. But like that, last generation of the GS has the liftback, and it's great. So just so many cool things about it. The interior is not amazing or anything, but if you just want a nice daily driver that drives actually really nicely and has a good old V6, it's a really great car. And so I'm glad you enjoyed the review. And yeah, definitely that car does not get enough credit. Thanks so much for being a member again, Jordan. And let me see. So C Plan says, would you ever consider buying the Stang Bullet back? I would consider it someday. The owner that has it now is very much enjoying it though, and I hope they continue to enjoy it forever. I don't wish for it back as far as, I'm very happy with where it's at now. It's being enjoyed and driven and, cherished the way that I was hoping it would, so I'm very happy with how it has worked out. Obviously it wasn't a great situation having to get rid of it. Sure, I wish I had it back, and I wish I could have kept it forever like I was originally planning. But we'll see. I know the current owner, back whenever he bought it, said that if he ever decides he wants to get rid of it, I have first right of refusal. Of course, he could always sell to someone else too, but so there's that chance in the future. But I really doubt I'll be in a position to afford a car that expensive again anytime soon. It's going to be a while. I mean, unless some things improve, like if these car consultation things I just started on my website, if that turns out to be a really big hit, and if the channel improves and things like that, never say never. But I think especially also at this point in my life, the Bullet I had before, I had our daughter, and obviously I can put a car seat back there and I can drive her around it, and that's fine. But I think, for the next fun car, if I do, get something, and I don't just keep the Fiat for a longer period of time, I'm probably gonna go for something 4 doors next. The GR Corolla has still been like the car calling my name next if I were to get something, but it's gonna be a while because the Fiat lease isn't up till the summer of 2028 on the 500e that I have, so it won't be anything for the next 3 years unless I hit the lottery or something. But assuming normal realities here, probably not going to be the Bullet on the channel anytime soon. But who knows? Never say never. And let me see. Mystical, thanks for stopping by. And let me see. Also, David, thanks so much for being a member for a month now. I really appreciate it. He says, I need a car under 15 grand for my long distance commute. I was looking at a late model Honda CRZ. They still look really cool. What else should I look at? That's a very wide net. I mean, it depends on exactly what you're looking for. I'm assuming you're looking for something with good fuel economy and comfortable for a long commute. And in that case, CRZ is cool. It just comes down to, it's a small car. I don't know, it depends on your size and also on just how much space you like having in a car. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff, even under 15 grand, as far as just great options, whether we're talking fuel efficient stuff like Priuses, or you're talking about just comfy sedans. Like if I was doing a long distance commute, I'd say probably one of my top picks would be like I really like the prior gen Honda Accord. That's a car I often come back to as far as like just a good cruiser daily driver, because they just handle so well. And if you go for the 1.5T especially, you're going to get really good fuel economy, and it's again comfy, it's larger, it's modern, it's got all the modern tech and all that kind of stuff. And I believe you could probably get one of those for under 15 grand. Now it has a CVT, so it's not the most fun, depends on how you feel about all that stuff. Civic Si is another great thing like that. I think if you're going long distance, that means you're racking up a lot of miles, so I would recommend sticking with a Honda or a Toyota. If you want to be the safest bets as far as reliability goes. So I think you're, in the right path there with the CRZ. And yeah, so I mean, I'd say yeah, SI would be great if you want a manual, because they are very nice and comfy still. I would just get a tune if you go for the prior gen SI, because you can't get the new one for under 15. So if you're going older SIs, I'd say get a tune to get rid of the rev hang on the turbo ones. If you go for the last generation of naturally aspirated, then you don't have any of those worries. And I believe those you can get a really nice one of those with under 100,000 miles for, I think they're, definitely under 15 grand. So that might be a nice choice. Again, great fuel economy and all that. And then I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, any other Toyota, would be fine. But just probably not the most exciting in most cases there. Even Civic is, just a really nice, long distance commuter, I'd say. So, yeah, there's a lot of options. If you'd like to drill down more, feel free to send me more context in a Facebook message, or like I said, I do these one-on-one car consultations on my website, mattmaranmotoring.com. And so whether you want to just do a quick little 15-minute session or a deep dive 45-minute session where I have a whole big questionnaire of everything, you can kind of really, give me all the info you can give me, and I can really ingest that and take some time to really research some better options for you there. More than happy to do anything like that as well. But again, feel free to send a message and I can just, go back and forth with you on there too, whatever works for you. And thanks so much for being a member for a month. I really appreciate it too. And Jordan, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, what does Ford Skunk Works mean? Is that an affordable EV? So the Skunk Works that they're referring to, Skunk Works is kind of a term that has been used by a lot of different manufacturers as like underground lair, kind of like hush hush, no one knows about it kind of thing. That's kind of the general consensus as far as what a Skunk Works entails. And so with Ford, like that was kind of what the way they discussed, the development of the Ford GT supercar and other things in the past that they've worked on in secret. But yes, supposedly the more recent Skunk Works is there's some California based studio that is working on an affordable EV, and that's the new Skunk Works kind of project. And I think I saw something that said that I think it was on Ford's earning call that I think that car is being revealed. Like I think they said either in a few days or unless I'm getting my rumors mixed up with something else, I'm pretty sure it's being revealed in a few days. So that's something I guess we'll have to wait and see on. But yeah, I'm all for affordable EVs, so I'm excited about it. But yeah, that's I think what they're going for there as far as the Skunk Works definition. Maybe they'll elaborate more whenever they reveal this car, whenever that is. But thank you so much for the super chat. Stratus Edge, thanks so much for being a member for 8 months now. I really appreciate it. He says, Matt, hope you guys are enjoying the Caddy. Any plans to ceramic coat /PPF /tint like you did for the Mustang? No plans for any of that. Mostly because especially this lease is the shortest lease we've ever done. It's just 24 months. So, all those types of things are out of pocket unless I get a sponsor to do it. And I could, but typically even for a sponsor thing, I'd want to have it on a car a little bit longer. The Bullet, I was able to do like 5 years of how it's holding up and all that kind of stuff. And also the Caddy, it's got, the rear window tint anyway. So it's only the front ones that aren't tinted. And the ceramic coating PPF, it'd be nice to do, but again, it is still just a lease at the end of the day. So I don't, care too much about having it be perfect. We may actually buy it out and keep it. So, I mean, I'm not going to trash the car or anything, but I'm not super concerned about that stuff. We also don't drive a ton. The cars that we previously put more of the, PPF and ceramic coating on were cars that were getting more of a beating. This thing is leased for 10,000 miles a year. We're probably going to do like 7,000 miles a year on it in reality. Whereas like the Bullet, I put like 10,000 miles on it in like the first few months and just was driving the wheels off it, especially initially there. So that was where that comes in handy a lot more, especially highway driving. We don't do a lot of highway driving with the family car. So, that's just, again, another thing where it's just probably not a necessity for us. I still highly recommend PPF. I don't love ceramic coatings though. After having it on the Mustang, I kind of regret putting it on. mostly just because the thing I love, especially about Expel ceramic or about Expel's PPF, is that it's self-healing, and you can scratch it or something, and it absorbs that, heals it, as long as it's in direct sun or you pour hot water on it, it heals that stuff. And then when you do a ceramic coating, maybe there's some newer ceramic coatings that retain that same durability, but with at least the way it was on the bullet, once it was ceramic coated, then I had to also worry about getting that scratched, because that's like just another clear coat, which can get scratched, get screwed up. You can't leave standing water on it for a while. You can't have water spots. You don't want to leave bird crap on it, all that kind of stuff. And so then, you have the extra layer of protection. So the real paint underneath all that stuff is still pristine, which is great, but it takes away the best perk of the PPF, which for me is not having to be OCD about the finish anymore. And that's why I love PPF. In addition to the protection, it's just the fact that I don't have to worry about it if I bump into it, or I drag a bag over the trunk area or something like that. It's just nice to have that protection and not have to worry about it. Yeah, I honestly haven't kept up with all the new ceramic coating, so maybe there's one that keeps that durability. But ceramic coating, especially because you also have to maintain it, and you have to refresh it and all that. I'm not in love with ceramic coatings myself personally. If you're someone who, again, is like polishing your car every other day, and you have the free time to sit there and make it look pristine, ceramic coating gives you a real nice extra shine. And there's certainly cases where I think it's great. But for me in my busy life, I wouldn't bother with a ceramic coating myself. And great question, though. Thanks for asking, Stratus. And Justin, thank you so much for being a member for 3 years now. I really appreciate that. And he says, glad I'm finally able to tune into a Wednesday stream. Also crazy, it's been 36 months as a member. Yeah, I really appreciate the 3 years of support. It really means so much. And so thanks so much. I'm glad you're able to join here. I know there's a few others here who've been able to join, who I usually just see in the comments on the videos, but don't see too much on the live. So I'm so happy that so many of you are able to join here. And let me see other questions. And I'll be a little more selective with the questions here, just because, again, I don't want to run out of time and be too far behind here. But let me see. So Luke says, and back on the music thing we were talking about before the live stream cut out here. He says, I love screaming metal music. I imagine yelling the lyrics at bad drivers. Okay, well, I can see how that could be potentially therapeutic in a high stress kind of driving situation. That's a good point. Fastline says, hey, Matt, random question. Has someone ever honked the horn at you in anger? Oh, yes, all the time. It's one of those things that even if you're the most perfect driver out there, inevitably you'll run across someone having a bad day that just wants to, be angry, or it's just some people, you can never go fast enough for them. It's just you could be doing 20 over the speed limit and they still are on your bumper blowing their horn. There's just some people are just really wound up or have some very, very important meeting to get to or something. Anyway, also he says, I saw a real pretty R8 today and I was trying not to follow it. Nice. So yeah, it's always great to see one of those. And Blacked Out 5.0 fan says, hi, Matt, I'm starting orientation for grad school next week. Well, congrats on that. That's awesome. He says, also, I'm sad that the TLX Type S and the RC are going away, even if they are push button start. Yeah, it is really sad. I did a toast in Sunday's live stream to the TLX Type S. And yeah, sad about the RC as well. It's just, these are, especially the RC, I mean, that's an old car, it was kind of one of those ones that was expected, and I hope that we still see something like that in the future from Lexus, but still a great car. That's another very underappreciated car. And another car for the question earlier about that David had, that'd be another, I don't know if they're 15 grand, they hold their value a little too well, so maybe they're not that cheap, but that's another very nice daily. If you can get even just the slower RCs are still just so nice. And B. Mitchell said, I was getting back late on Sunday from an IH truck show, so my sightings don't count. Odd that Scott Motors wasn't there as they hung their hat on the IHC Scout Heritage. Oh, International Harvester. Gotcha. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Scout, they do I follow them on Instagram and they're always posting and stuff, but like the thing to keep in mind is they have no product until 2027, like nothing. And I mean, we're here, halfway through 2025. I mean, we got a long ways to go before, even just the earliest stuff actually sees the light of day from scouts. So, um, it's probably one of those things. I know, building up hype makes sense, but I can kind of understand from a marketing standpoint them making an initial push, letting everyone know that they're back and they're coming, with something new. And I think that, especially a community like that is probably small enough that everyone already knows about it. And so it's kind of a law of diminishing returns from that point forward until you start to get closer to needing to do that push of reminding everyone again. But I think it's one of those things where it costs money to bring out the cars there, or, set stuff up, sponsor stuff, and all that. So but I'm sure they'll be back, once they get closer to actually launching. And Austin says, too bad the Bolt will only carry over the SUV model. Yeah, the EUV. I mean, they were really similar in size. That I mean, I think it mostly makes sense, because I don't really see there being a drastic price savings between them. I mean, I don't remember the exact dimensional differences, but if it's more than 3 inches in length, I'd be shocked. I mean, it's really, a very small difference. But yeah, I'm just, again, affordable EVs sound great to me. I'm looking forward to seeing that here. I don't know, did the teaser say when it's coming? I don't recall when they say Bolt's actually coming. Maybe that hasn't been revealed yet. I'm not sure. I don't have any info myself, so I don't know. But I'm excited for it. And Fook says, I like the Slate truck very much, and I hope they go through with it. I'm kind of afraid of it being another Cybertruck pre-order scheme. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say, is that Slate does have Jeff Bezos backing it, and so the money is there, and Bezos has backed companies that ended up not getting off the ground before. So, I mean, it's possible that it doesn't, go anywhere, but if he wants it to happen enough, he's got the money to make it happen, regardless of what the rules are, and regardless of what the climate is like, from a EV sales perspective. So we'll see what happens. But I do really like the Slate as well. I've been saying for years, even on these lives, that someone needs to make a bare bones car, and someone now has, and I think that that'll hopefully do well, but we'll see. And B. Mitchell says Brock Yates, who wrote Cannonball Run, said it was the worst POS he ever wrote by far, but by far made him the most money. Welcome to the world of automotive media. Yeah, that checks out. Yeah, Brock Yates is a legend too, so that's saying something from him. And Chad says, disregarding tariffs, why do you think we don't get the Hilux? I think that also, really the tariff is the biggest thing. The chicken tax is what's kept all the foreign trucks out, for decades. And that is really, I think, the main reason why. If it wasn't for that, I think that some of them would probably venture to sell their trucks here. Now, as far as, and no one's actually said whether or not the chicken tax is still in effect, because with all these, other tariffs and stuff, I don't know if they've all been written to specifically say, by the way, you still can't bring trucks in, or if everything's just at a, tariff rate of whatever. I know the automotive rates are different for various countries, but I don't know if it's all automotive now and the chicken tax is gone, or if the chicken tax is still in effect. I'm guessing it probably is, but no one's brought that up in any of these tariff reports that I've seen, so I don't know. But as far as the other reason why we don't get the Hilux and any of these other foreign trucks, even if there was no chicken tax on them, I think that, American truck buyers have some unique needs. Now, there is some overlap. Ford Ranger is an example where you can kind of make something that's a world truck and everyone can enjoy it. But, like if you were to ask Toyota why we don't have the Hilux here, they would probably say because the Tacoma and the Tundra are engineered for specific American lifestyles, wants and needs, and all the unique things that American truck buyers want that others in other parts of the world either don't want or would never dream of thinking about, because it's just different cultural, just different cultures as far as, the way people use trucks and all of that. Trucks are still either a high luxury for many places, or it's just very much a work kind of vehicle, and it's not this fun recreational vehicle for a lot of them. I mean, there are some, but I mean, like, when I was in Italy last year, I saw very few trucks, and I can't remember the exact amount, but someone told me that, like, to have a regular Ford Ranger in Italy with the taxes and all the stuff that goes into it, it's basically like buying an $80,000 vehicle. Would you pay 80 grand for a Ranger? Probably not. So, I mean, it's just, again, the different regulatory climate as well that custom tailors these trucks for the markets that they're in. And obviously here, bigger is better, so they make these gigantic trucks. You couldn't drive a Tundra in Italy because half the roads it wouldn't fit down. So there's all these different things they have to think about. And so I think it doesn't make any sense to sell a skinny little truck here in America whenever that might be best for a lot of the other parts of the world, but it wouldn't be the best for here. So I think that's the main reason why. And that goes for any vehicle, as far as why we have different vehicles for different regions, because those regions need and want different things, or they have more relaxed crash standards. They can get away with making cheaper cars for these regions that maybe want, more affordable stuff and are willing to, have something less safe or don't care that much. Those types of things, all affect why we get what we get here in America. And Cameron, Captain Midnight says, "Hey Matt, it's Chase. Not sure what to do or what I really want, but I've been considering a 2015 to 2017 C7 and a new hybrid Camry. Totally opposites, I know. So yeah, that's a tough one. Like I mentioned with David, same kind of thing. If you want me to really get into the specifics, I need a lot more context as far as what you need the car to do, what you like, what you don't like, all the various things. So like I said, also shameless plug, if you want to do a consult on mattmurraymotoring.com, I'd love to chat with you in person one-on-one and really, drill down. Otherwise, send me a message or something of everything you're kind of looking for in those vehicles as far as why one appeals to you and why the other does. But yeah, I mean, that's something I see from a lot of people is, they are cross shopping or considering vehicles that are not competitors. And it's just, you got something from one side that pulls you in one direction and something from another side that's tempting as well. So I totally get it. And, but yeah, so let me know if I can help anymore, but it's really hard to, say one or the other, not knowing, what exactly you're looking for and what you need there. And Luke says, have you ever been to/heard of Vandergrift, PA? I delivered there today and it was horrible. I was in Vandergrift a long time ago. It was maybe 10 years ago or something was the last time I was there. They filmed, I Am Number 4, which is a movie. Speaking earlier about movies that aren't great, I actually thought it was decent, but it didn't do super well with the critics, but they filmed that there. I think that was the last time I was there. I wasn't an extra there, but that was in my early days of trying to become an extra, where I was kind of hanging around movie sets and trying to just be around movies was very exciting at that point because I had never had that in PA before. So I think that might be the last time I was in Vandergrift. I'm sure it probably hasn't improved any in the past 10 or 15 years, but hope it wasn't too horrible there, but sorry if it wasn't a great experience. I promise other parts of PA are nicer. But Danny says that the car my parents will most likely buy is a GM product. We have had a GM car in the family since our 2006 Equinox. We are nervous about the Traverse due to the 3.6 liter being called timing chain muncher. Yeah, I've heard of that V6. I don't know if that's the same one as the Regal, but I think it might be slightly different. But anyway, I have heard, Traverses, unfortunately, I'm not exactly sure why, but they don't seem to be super reliable, because even at the used car dealers I used to work at, Traverses just never seem to really go the distance and seem to have more issues than you would expect, even non-mechanical ones, just like electrical glitches and other strange things. Maybe your parents will just hand you down the Bolt or something. We'll have to see. But best of luck with whatever you end up getting there. I see he says it just has under 43,000 miles on it. So you probably still got a ways to go before you have to worry about the timing chain, hopefully. And Vishal says Prelude pricing leaked and it seems like it'll be above Civic Type R, which is expensive. Interesting. I had seen like 41 grand. So that would be under Civic Type R, but still, really expensive. I'm very hesitant, especially whenever pricing doesn't sound right to me. I'm very hesitant to get too worked up about it because it is a leak and who knows how legit it is. But even if it's 41 grand, it's probably just about dead in the water. I mean, obviously there's going to be a few people that just have a blank check and are excited about a Prelude and they'll buy it. But I think if it's even 41 grand, it'll be a failure. I mean, just because you can get an Integra, a nice fully loaded Integra for 37 grand, with just as much power. And, if I mean, unless it's more than what they're saying it's going to be, but if it's truly just hybrid Civic powertrain with Civic Type R Civic Type R front suspension and a coupe, like that's not 41 grand. I'm sorry. Honda in general has been really out of touch with pricing recently, where they are consistently, I've noticed this with every single thing I've compared, and I've done a competitor comparison at the end of my reviews on. If there's ever a Honda that's a competitor, it's almost guaranteed to be one of the most expensive vehicles in that class. Now, honestly, yes, Honda is really great. There's some of the best stuff in those classes they compete in, but it's not the most competitive from a pricing standpoint. And then you add on the fact that a lot of Honda dealers don't really want to deal. They're still doing markups in some places, or they're still just playing hardball with people. So they're not really handing out a whole lot of deals. I know, again, it's Honda, but like some of these dealers are really on a high horse about it. And it just, I mean, and you see a lot of Honda sales are actually down pretty badly too. Some of the SUVs are doing pretty well, and that kind of helps to cover up the failures of the sedans. But I mean, this is why I think TLX got dropped early. I think this is why, we're seeing just, it's just like Honda cars, especially, are just not selling super well. And I think that, I mean, including, I'd say excluding Civic. Civic is still selling well, but even that I think is down year over year. But I mean, it's just, if it's 41 grand, it's too expensive. If it's 46 grand, like nobody's going to buy it. Again, unless it's a Type R version. But if we're talking regular Prelude and if you're saying you saw above Type R pricing, which is really crazy. If they're charging like 50 grand for a Prelude, I mean, that thing better have 300 horsepower. Otherwise, there is no chance anyone's going to buy it. It's zero. I don't care how much you love Prelude. Go buy a mint condition old one if you love them that much for less money. I mean, there's no way. So we'll see. I hope that the actual real pricing ends up landing, as a nice little spot. I would say for me, it would be appropriate to fit in between the very narrow gap of Civic Hybrid and Integra. And there's even a little bit of potential overlap there, but I'm envisioning a mid $30,000 starting price. Sure, maybe loaded. Okay, maybe 40. That still is really debatable, but I would say 40 is the hard limit for a loaded trim. Like in my mind, that's really about as much as like you can expect out of anyone to pay for that car. Because if you're only a few grand away from Type R, why would you not have an extra 100 horsepower, a phenomenal manual, which you can't get in the Prelude, it seems, all this other stuff. Like if it's even remotely close to Type R, it's going to be game over for Prelude. So anyway, yeah, I won't get too worked up about it until we actually see real stuff. But if they are even thinking about 40s for starting for Prelude, they can forget about it. But let me see. Jordan, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, is it illegal to drink when using an auto taxi? Yeah, I don't know if you're meaning like a Waymo kind of thing, or if you're talking about like a regular. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I believe, when you're in the vehicle, you're not allowed to drink in general, no matter where you're sitting, I think. But obviously you can be drunk if you're being driven home or something like that. But that's about it, I think. I don't know. I don't know the details as far as the rules for. Oh, he says Waymo. I think Waymo. I mean, you're not expected to take over with Waymo. It's not like it's any other Tesla or something where you're expected to take over, every once in a while. I mean, Waymo is supposed to be like a regular taxi. So I'm absolutely, you're not supposed to drink in any car, but I'm pretty sure you can be drunk in a Waymo, and it's supposed to, be just the same as, a taxi driver driving you home. So I believe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's probably the way it works. And thank you for the super chat there, Jordan. And let me see. Also, I see B. Mitchell saying drink because I mentioned the GR Corolla, so I'm going to take a break for water here. Also, B. Mitchell says, speaking of enjoying S550s, I rode over 80,000 miles on the little blue pony going through Valparaiso, Indiana, heading home on Sunday. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad yours is still racking up the miles. That's great to see. You're still enjoying it. And John, thanks for stopping by. And Austin says, yeah, Prelude pricing will kill it if the leaks are true. Yeah, totally agree. And OK Spaces says, next family car, Aston Martin Rapide. You know me well. Yeah, and they are cheap, like cheaper or actually I think they are cheaper than a GR Corolla. Now, I just don't want to find myself in a money pit, although that would make for great content. So yeah, it's a good. I like the you're the bad reliability influence that I'm enjoying. So that would be the coolest family car there, just for me as like a dad car. Because if it's a backup car, then even if it isn't super reliable, that would probably be fine. And honestly, that Aston Martin V12 isn't bad. Funny enough, I actually was just looking because I'm a stupid dreamer that likes looking at what exotics are going for every once in a while. I was looking up Aston Martins, and there was a DB9, I think it's a DB9 Volante, yeah, that was listed on Auto Trader with 177,000 miles on it. Now, I don't think there was a Carfax available to look at to see what the damage was, how many services they had to do to get to that point. But someone has done almost 200,000 miles in a Vantage, and I would like to buy that person a drink. That is very, very impressive, and I would love to talk their ear off all night about that. But so, I mean, they might not be that unreliable. So maybe a Rapide would be a really fun Ford, or I would totally rock a Rapide. I love those things. So we'll see what happens here in a few years, but that could be fun for sure. And let me see. Now, P-Dog says, are you a fan of the new C8 Vet? Do you think you will be able to take a C8 Z06 for a test drive? I finally got my dream car, which is a 2021 Camaro ZL1 and Crush. I'd like to see how it compares. The ZL1s are fantastic. Congrats on that. And I love the C8. I was on the launch event for the C8. And then I also did have a Z06 for a few days and lived with it. Did a review on the Z06. It's phenomenal. I've lived with multiple C8s as far as the regular ones. I did a week with the regular coupe, did a week with the convertible in the middle of winter on winter tires, which is very fun and hilarious to see the rolling shots of me like with snow covering the C8 with the roof off, still driving with the top down and having a blast in the winter. So I have lots of fun C8 experiences. They're fantastic. But Z06 is really magical. And that's a whole other beast. Regular C8 is very good. But the engine just isn't super special in my opinion, and it doesn't have as high of a red line as I would like for a car that's as exotic looking as the C8 is. And Z06 fixes all of that. Z06 is so magical, and I've never wanted a Corvette before, but Z06, C8 Z06 is the first Corvette that I desperately wanted after I spent some time with it. I was like, man, this is my first dream Corvette. So I don't know if I'll ever achieve that dream, but yeah, they're fantastic. But the ZL1 Camaros are fantastic as well. So I hope you enjoy it to the fullest. And David says he's looking for a fuel economy hatchback, mostly something unusual as well. Okay, so with that extra context, I'm trying to think of any of the other stuff that would be kind of fitting into that. I mean, Mazda 3 hatch would be another choice. They do pretty good fuel economy, and not a hybrid, but it would be pretty good. I mean, Prius be super comfortable too. Obviously not super fun. CRZ, I mean, may actually be the best choice there if that's enough space for you and you think you'd enjoy it. It's just a little bit of a stiff ride. So I personally wouldn't want to do a long commute in a CRZ, for years and years, but yeah, I think other hatchbacks. I mean, even just regular Golf is really good. They get phenomenal fuel economy. Obviously, they're not in production anymore, but you can get one of the older ones, for 15 grand. And if you can find a diesel one that hasn't been ruined by the weird retune they did after the whole Dieselgate stuff, I mean, you can get 50 mpg and a Golf diesel. Some people even get more than that, but at least 50 mpg. It's really comfortable, really well done. And Mark 7 especially is really good build quality. You may have some electrical gremlins every once in a while, but that actually, if you want fuel economy in a hatchback, you're probably not going to get any better than diesel Golf. Probably really hard to find too. But if you can find one of those, I mean, even there's like diesel Jetta wagon is a hatch, I think, that they had, believe it or not. That could be something, or it was the all track. What do they call that? Yeah, I think it's the all track. Those I believe actually also came with there's a bunch of diesel wagon Volkswagens could really be the ticket possibly there. But yeah, because I can't think of anything to do better fuel economy wise. That's still also a good driving experience from a handling standpoint. If you go for 2016 or newer, you still get CarPlay, and yeah, just probably going to be the best thing I can offer you there. And you can get them in a manual if you really want to hunt hard. You can get a manual diesel hatch or wagon from Volkswagen. That'd be really a cool combo, I think. And Danny says CRZ was offered with a 6-speed manual. Maybe those cars are under 15. Yeah, possibly. And yeah, the CRZ, that and the Insight, I think, were the only two, the old Insight were the only two manual hybrids, I think, that I know of. And P-Dog says, my wife surprised me with the ZL1 2 summers ago with it hidden in my garage. I still watch your video of you driving the 2017 ZL1, and I love that video. Yeah, that was a really fun one. That thing really blew me away, especially the 10-speed. Just wild acceleration in that thing. And that's a really great surprise. Sounds like you have an awesome wife. So you got your ZL1, you got an awesome wife. It sounds like life is good for you, P-Dog. And I hope you continue to enjoy it for a long time. And let me see. John says, hey, Matt, just need some help from you in the community. I just bought a GTI Mark 7.5, and what are common issues to look for? Your videos are great and really helped me making my recent GTI purchase. I'm so happy it helped you. Thanks for saying that. And congrats on the new GTI. 7.5, I don't know. I'm not an expert on those. Volkswagen groups, owners, subreddit for GTI, those types of things, Facebook groups, any of those types of things are going to be a better place to kind of get that info. Forums might even have like a sticky of, here's the top thread of everything that's, a common problem on those. There's probably even some YouTube videos, I'm sure, that kind of do a rundown. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert on them. That's really the thing with, what I do is I have it for a day or for a week and kind of give a surface level kind of review, but not able to do the real ownership stuff aside from on my own personal car. So I'm not sure what to look out for in those. Unfortunately, I wish I could help you more. If anyone else has any thoughts, please chime in there. And CB Mitchell has the definition there of skunk works. It goes back to the 50s with Lockheed Aviation's secret development group, which came up with the SR-71 among the most famous unclassified aircraft. Right. You're right. I forgot. I didn't know that was actually the first skunk works. That's cool. So thanks for the little bit of history there, V. Mitchell. Always can count on you for that. And Hemi Design says, Matt, how are you, brother? I'm between 3 cars in the value of 42 grand. New Mazda CX-5 2025, new Tiguan SEL R-Line 25, or a BMW X5 2024 pre-owned. So again, this is another one where, it really comes down to what you are looking for, what you need, what your reliability tolerances are, what your maintenance budgets look like. I appreciate the love there as well with the little emojis, everyone. And so, yeah, it really just depends. I mean, so you're saying, yeah, it's 42 grand. You must be talking loaded CX-5 if you're talking 42 grand. So between all three of those, I mean, the X5 is going to be the nicest driving one. It's the fastest one, the most powerful one, the most prestigious one. So if you don't mind, the prospect of BMW servicing, which is more expensive than Mazda and Volkswagen's servicing, if you're not concerned about long-term stuff, because the BMWs do sometimes need some more expensive maintenances down the road. So it comes down to how long you're planning on keeping the vehicle for. But if you are looking at those three, also you're going to be paying a lot more for gas in X5 versus the CX5 and the Tiguan. Also, insurance will be a lot more expensive. So again, there's some other things to consider there beyond just the price. But if you have the 42 grand and all that extra money for the extra expenses, of the X5, then X5 is the nicest one. And sure, between those three, I'd rather have the X5. Again, if all those other extra costs, aren't a problem for you, I think that's probably the most fun one. And again, definitely gonna be the nicest cruiser and all that as well. Let me see here. Also, I see B. Mitchell says that Ford's announcement is on the 11th. Okay, for the cheap new car. That's interesting. Okay, well, thanks for that. Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye out, and we'll be talking about that. So that's 5 days from now. So we'll be missing that on Sunday's Live. We'll talk about it next Wednesday. I'm excited. I hope they knock it out of the park. Ford's been a little iffy recently, so I'm a little nervous. It's not going to be quite as good as I'm hoping it'll be, but we'll see what happens. B. Mitchell also says S550s have very soft plastic front fascias, which makes the ceramic coating futile. I've never had a car that gets nicked on the nose so much. Might get a Shelby front end for its 100,000 mile anniversary. That's awesome. Yeah, I guess that's one of the things that was really nice about the PPF on the Bullet, because not like I put a ton of miles on it, but over the 20,000 odd miles, got a couple of chips, but nothing too bad, thanks to the PPF there. Jordan says, any company concept or production car reveals before the end of the year? There's gonna be a lot. It's like that Ford's one, and there's some other stuff coming as well. And there's one thing I'm under embargo for that you'll be seeing info on soon. And then there's no shortage. We also have, car shows coming up with the LA Auto Show in November. I'm sure there'll be some reveals around that time. There should be some others. Now, it is kind of a little bit of a slower year from a launch perspective for a lot of cars and car companies. Not a ton of super fresh product compared to some other years, I'd say. But there should still be a lot of stuff here coming, through the rest of the year here. Jazz says, Matt, what do you think about a retro new version of the 1948 Tucker Torpedo with the headlight in the center? I think that'd be awesome. I'd love to see, some kind of new Tucker in a way. And before, Tesla jumped the shark, I kind of looked at them almost like a Tucker in a way, of being this like underdog that's kind of, upsetting the traditional car companies and all that. And I guess they still are in some way. It's just a less endearing version of that these days. But I'd love to see a new Tucker that's really crazy looking. And we'll see what happens. There's all kinds of companies trying to bring back DeLoreans and all kinds of other stuff. So maybe we'll see someone try and do some type of retro futuristic Tucker someday. I think it'll be fun for sure. And Frank Han's asking, Mazda MX-5 or BRZ if I were to get new, some track, but mostly for summer cruising. This is another one where it kind of depends. They are very comparable vehicles, but there are some real differences. And especially just this week, having an MX-5 for a week again here at the 2025 press car that I have right now. Miata is still like 300 pounds or so, maybe even 400 pounds heavier or lighter than BRZ. BRZ is, a lot heavier. And, so even though BRZ is phenomenal, Miata is even one step further as far as the purity of the drive experience, the just niceness of it. There's so much about MX-5 that makes me love it a little bit more than BRZ. I love BRZs. You know, I own one. I've been the biggest cheerleader for, you know, this new generation. They're phenomenal, and I'd happily own one if I could. But MX5 is just kind of next level purity, and it's really an experience because of how light it is. It's an experience that is really unrivaled anywhere in the car world. Even if you're talking about any hypercar that might also be 2,400 pounds, you know, it doesn't have the simplicity, the approachability, the low limits that make it fun. I mean, I was the other thing I was so blown away by this week was the sense of speed. And I hadn't really fully appreciated this in other weeks, and I don't know if it's just because of, again, just the way cars have just rapidly changed here in the past few years with how large they are and stuff. But you know, just I found myself being like, wow, I feel like I'm going way faster. It feels way like I kept looking down at the speedometer, being like, I feel like I'm going faster than I'm actually going. And I'm not sure, you know, I think it's just because of the smaller proportions and just being lower and again, just less car around me. It just felt like I was going so much faster. So I found myself being more excited going 35 miles per hour behind a car in traffic than I would even in a BRZ. Again, BRZ is still very fun, and it will be the better car for track work. But, you know, if it's not a ton of track work and it's mostly just summer cruising, especially if it's mostly summer stuff, you're enjoying it in nice, you know, weather circumstances, then the roof off experience, I mean, it depends on how much you love convertibles, but I love the convertible experience. And obviously BRZ can't match that. So I would say MX5. Now, there's other things to consider if you know, occasionally need a back seat or a slightly larger trunk area with the seats you can fold down in the BRZ. BRZ is more practical. It's easier to live with. There's more places to put your stuff slightly, you know, but so there's other things there at play. But if we're just talking about driving experience, MX5 is better in my opinion. Yeah, just better manual too. Also, I mean, BRZ's manual is good, but I like the Miata's a little bit better as well. So hopefully it helps you a little bit, Frank. And again, feel free to send me another message here, or again, do a consult on mattrammotoring.com if you'd like to talk more in person. Danny says bolts coming for 2027 from what I read online. I had heard that, and I think I'd heard that as well at some point, but it's got to be sooner than that because one, the factory that was supposed to build it is they, you know, discontinued all these cars early. Cadillac XT4 got killed off earlier to make room for that. Malibu, I think also got killed off in order to make room for that. So there's like all this stuff that's been shifted around, which makes me think they're putting it into production soon. But yeah, I have to go back and see, you know, about that whole thing. Let me see. Fastline also says, also I got good news. My parents are willing to help me with insurance with my Durango, and I'm gonna handle everything else on my own. Been saving since high school. That's awesome. It's really nice of your parents to offer to help you with that as well. And yeah, well, I hope you enjoy the Durango and hope you can get it soon. But congrats, that's awesome. And B. Mitchell says chicken tax is still on the books, 25%. Okay, interesting. I didn't think chicken tax was only 25%. I thought it was higher. But if it's only 25%, I mean, some of these other countries, I guess it's 15% for most of them, like Japan and South Korea and stuff. But I mean, this is actually an interesting new ripple because if they're already paying 15% to bring everything else in, what's another 10%? If they know Americans love trucks and they think they can justify volumes now, you know, it'd be different if we were talking zero tariffs and then 25%, then that's, you know, a big jump. And it's also crazy. Like chicken tax was only 25%, and yet that was enough to keep out decades of trucks and to have them not even bother competing. And now like that's pretty much close to the reality. And for some places like Canada, it's even higher, I think, you know, right? So, I mean, so yeah, maybe that makes chicken tax almost irrelevant. And if we're just going to get, you know, everyone's going to be paying tariffs for everything anyway, then we may see a surge in foreign trucks here because why not? What's another 10% when you're already blowing billions of dollars on tariffs? I don't know, but that's interesting. Thanks for that as well, B. Mitchell. Chad says, did you see Jason Camisa crash the Rover going to Jay Leno's garage? I did see that. I didn't watch the content on it or whatever. I just saw his Instagram post, but very unfortunate there, but I'm glad he's okay. And let me see, we are getting close to time here. So I'm just going to do the member questions from here on out. And again, we will chat again on Sunday here. And always, again, feel free to send me a message, or any of you who are considering buying a car. Again, definitely check out mattmaranmotoring.com. I'd love to help you more in person with that. But Bruce says, have you seen the new F1 movie? It's really good. I have not seen it. I'm adding it to my list of car movies that I have fallen behind on. I haven't seen F1, haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari still, haven't seen the Lamborghini movie or the Ferrari movie. So I got a stack now of car movies that are, I think the Lamborghini one everyone said basically sucked, but the other ones I need to watch. But yeah, I've heard it is really good. So I'm excited to watch it someday. And Luke says, I prefer the 26 Passport to the new 4Runner V6, same MPG and a better value, especially in the RTL trim. Yeah, Passport's really compelling for sure. And yeah, definitely more space than 4Runner. There's a lot of redeeming qualities, just not quite as offer capable as 4Runner. That's the only thing there. But if you don't need that extra capability, Passport's great. And I think it's going to sell really well for Honda. And I see Vichal says, I agree that Honda pricing has been inflated the past few years. Civic's the most expensive compact car in the segment. You don't get as much equipment as others. CR-V is missing a lot of stuff, etc. Yeah. And that is the thing too. Like CR-V is the worst example as far as, just looking bad for Honda, because you get like no cooled seats in a CR-V. You get no panoramic roof. Just they're missing out on some core key features, smallest screen in the segment these days. And yet they are charging this top dollar for it. It's just, but they still sell well. So it shows that, it's the same thing as Subaru, where I don't understand it, but people keep buying them. And, so the accountants are happy, and they're going to keep doing what they're going to keep doing, I suppose. I see David says, my local Honda dealer sells Type Rs with 20 grand markups. Still, that's crazy. I thought that most dealers had dropped their markups on Type Rs at this point. It sounds like your local dealer sucks. I would definitely, if you're considering a Type R, or anyone else for that matter, someone else just talking about this with it. Someone mentioned that their GR Corolla also has a markup these days still. You got to get out of your local dealers, and if you want to have something that's a good price, you gotta travel for it typically. And especially, you should not be paying a markup on anything right now. Nothing should have a markup unless you're talking about an exotic. There's no reason for a markup on any of these cars these days. There's plenty of supply. None of this stuff super fresh. There's no reason for that. And Dave says, do you think someone loyal to one brand or even one model could be considered a car enthusiast? Yeah, I think so. I think that, a lot of people like to gatekeep what an enthusiast, a true enthusiast is. Someone just told me this the other day because I like EVs. I'm not a real enthusiast or whatever. I think, if you are excited about your car and you are, not only just happy with it, like it's a good appliance purchase, but if you're really actually excited about the vehicle itself, even if it is just one model or one brand, I still think, yes, that does. If you are enthusiastic about your car, you are a car enthusiast, in my opinion. It's just that simple. And, again, everyone likes to impose some higher standards for what, that term entitles you to, as far as, you have to be someone who knows how to drive a manual, and you have to be someone who only likes V8s, or, there's all kinds of stipulations people put on it. But to me, if you're excited about your car, you're a car enthusiast. Let me see. So Luke says 33 to 38 grand for the Prelude would be ideal, in my opinion. I agree. And Chad says drunken away mode. That'd probably be pretty fun. Jazz says in Florida, before AC in cars was common, as late as the 1970s, it was legal to drink a cold beer and drive to stay cool. Crazy. Yeah, I believe that's where the term "one for the road" comes from, right? Crazy times. Dave says drinking is legal in a limo, isn't it? I guess you're right. Maybe it's not illegal to be in the back and drink. I think PA, you're not allowed to have open alcohol, but maybe limos have a special exemption. ICB Mitchell says open bottles legal in Minnesota if the driver is physically separated from the drunks. i.e. limo or pickup truck. So chug away in a Subi Brett. In Wisconsin, it's a 3-drink minimum to drive. Interesting. I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's yeah, I guess PA must be the same thing where, yeah, if you're physically separated, then you're probably okay. Interesting. And the OK Spaces says, I look up cheap Astons all the time. I'm glad I'm not alone. I think we're kindred spirits there, OK Spaces. Let me see here. So Jordan says, last question from him. Do you predict Ford jumping on the autonomous taxi bandwagon? Mach-E, Fusion, and Taurus would have made excellent autonomous categories. I don't know. I think, Ford kind of tried this. They actually had a headquarters here in Pittsburgh for a little while where they were running the autonomous Fusions. They were testing. I can't remember the name of Ford's specific version of Waymo kind of stuff, but they tried. I believe it all got folded up and they kind of gave up on it. But it's something I'm sure if someone actually does do a more widespread rollout of something like that, I'm sure Ford would be interested in that in the future. But I think right now they're just focused on building good cars and realizing that the autonomous thing, Waymo is actually doing it in small doses, but as far as that being truly widespread, I think we still have a ways to go on that. So and again, the main thing is just the legal liabilities of, again, who do you sue, who do you blame whenever the car crashes and hurts somebody? That's, if you put it on the driver, then it's not fully autonomous, and if you don't put it on the driver, then your company is taking that hit, and that's kind of a little bit of a riskier proposition. So I think that's why a lot of companies aren't going to jump in, and they'll probably just buy Waymo's tech and call it a day, since they're the only ones that are actually doing it well, it seems. And Vishal says Mark 7 Golf with the 1.8T is also a great choice. That engine has a good blend of performance and efficiency. Love that engine in our Passat. Yeah, that's true. If you can't find a diesel Golf, the gas one still, yeah, gets a really good amount of fuel economy for sure. Let me see. I see JV also says there was no diesel option actually for the all track. Sport wagon had the TDI. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of then, as a sport wagon. Thanks for the info there, JV. And let me see. So I see Cam stopping by at the last minute here. Thanks for stopping by, Cam. And Dave says BRZ is less of a pure driving experience, but better suited to be an only car. I can agree with that. Yeah. Chad says BRZ convertible would be sweet. I was so hoping they would do it someday. They did an FT86 open concept for the last generation of, the Scion FRS and BRZ and all that. And I got so excited for that. And then it never actually got put into production. And Chad says even T-tops would be cool. I agree. And Cam says, I don't know if I told you, Matt, but I watched Baby Driver because of your recommendation, and it was awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, such a good movie. The music and the driving and real stunt driving, not very much green screen, or there's really no green screen in that. I think they said some of the objects were artificially placed, but the actual driving, I think, is all real in that, which is, I think, what makes it way cooler than Fast and Furious and stuff like that. So yeah, glad you enjoyed Baby Driver. I need to rewatch it because it's been too long for me. And I heard there's a rumor that or I think it's not a rumor, I think it's a report. I think they're doing a new one, but I haven't heard anything about that recently, but I'm excited. Hopefully that happens too. And Cam says, I went to a Honda dealer last year and they had an SI $7,500 over MSRP. Some dealers are an utter joke. That's, yeah, I feel like I hear that kind of report more from Honda dealers than from any other brand, which is a real problem. I don't know why these Honda dealers think. I mean, we're talking about affordable cars. If you want to do markups, then go buy a Porsche franchise. Don't, hurt the Honda brand with that crap. But anyway, so yeah, we have reached the end here of the hour stream. So yeah, I apologize I didn't get everyone's questions here, but definitely come back here on Sunday, or feel free to, again, always send me a message, reach out in the socials there. Always happy to chat and discuss car options, all those types of things. So anyway, but thank you all so much for your chats tonight. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks so much for your support of the channel, and stay tuned for some more good stuff here this week and more Miata stuff. I will be posting my week with the Miata tomorrow, and got some other cool stuff here coming towards the end of the week. So stay tuned for all that. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.